Hello, and welcome to Phil's Fantastical Flute Fantasy. I am your host, Phil. Got a very special show for you tonight, folks. We are going to be discussing three very different but important aspects of the flute. And with us, we've got three very, very special guests. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce us to our first guest, named Chester Dunknut. Hi, Chester.
Howdy! Brought my pan flute!
Ah, hello, Chester. Very nice to have you with us this evening. It's actually called a flute, but that's beside the point. I know you're from a different part of the country. So, you're here today to discuss flute maintenance. That's very interesting. Would you like to tell us all about the flute and how do we set this thing up? Let us know, Chester.
Putting a flute together is a lot easier than you musicers make it seem to be. I'll tell you what you need to assemble yourself a pan flute. You need yourself a good pair of gloves. You need these gloves in case something bad happens to your hands. Now what you're going to do is put the gloves on your hands like so. Make sure they're on the right way. Gloves are on the hands. Now next thing you're going to need is get yourself a good dowel. You just need a good dowel. Dowel's going to be used for poking. We're going to use the dowel for poking. Next thing you need, good lighter. You need yourself a good lighter. You gotta make sure you burn good holes. You need good holes for your lighter. Now, next thing you're going to need, drill bits. Drill all the bits. You notice how all the bits are there, so you need all the bits. Now, next thing you need, get yourself a good hacksaw. Make sure the hacksaw is good and sharp. You can't cut your arm off with it. Not that I'd ever want to cut someone's arm off. Then, next thing you need, simple tape measure. You need to be able to measure your flute, right? That seems pretty straightforward. Get yourself a good tape measure. It's all you need. It's all you need. After that, all pretty straightforward. Now, when that's all done, simple. Simple. Just like putting peanut butter on a frying pan. Just like that. That's all you need. Easy as pie. That's what you need to put your flute together.
Are you sure that's how you would set up a flute, Chester?
Now listen here, Sonny. I can make pancakes, waffles, cornbread, fish bread, potato bread. So of course I can put a flute together. Pretty sure I know how to do that.
Well, your methods are different. I'd like to assure our viewers that there is an easier way to set up your flute. As your knowledgeable host, let me just indulge you. So, the first bit of the flute is what we would call our head joint. Now, with our head joint, notice that we've got a nice little blowhole located right here. This is a lovely little piece. So this is our head joint. What I'm going to do is take the head joint and attach it to the body of the flute. The body would be the longest bit, and this has all of the keys upon it. So what I'm going to do is attach the head joint so that the blowhole is lined up with the first key on the flute. This key here, lined up with the keys. Now you'll notice as I pull the flute across, voila! Dear viewers, it is lined up. Our flute is almost put together. Next, I'm going to take the foot joint. Now the foot joint is the smallest part of the flute. What I'm going to do, take the foot joint and place it so that this little diagonal key here is just lined up with this line. Dear listeners, dear viewers, I mean, this is the proper way to set up a flute. So what do you think, Chester? Pretty straightforward, right?
Is it true?
Well, hot damn, son, that's about as easy as putting mustard on your face. That's pretty easy.
Indeed. Goodbye, Chester. It's been great.
Bye now.
Ah, wonderful. Next on our program, we have a very, very special guest. A very, very intelligent young man by the name of Oswald Grizzlenut. Hi, Oswald.
Hello. I'm a robot. I'm actually not a robot. I'm actually a regular human being.
Oh, Oswald, you crack me up every time. Why don't you tell our dear viewers what you're going to talk to us about this evening?
Oh no! My flute's a robot! Ah! Actually, that's just a big joke. This flute has no artificial intelligence whatsoever. Well, on a serious note, I'm here to talk to you about articulation. Articulation is very interesting, and it's a theory that I've come up with through many years of hard science. So, I'll show you my figures here. All of this equals articulation. It's very genius, really. Only a sheer mastermind like myself could come up with this. So, I'll briefly show you my findings. Watch. Don't worry, my flute's not a robot. Genius, really.
As much as I appreciate your scientific endeavors, Oswald, there is a much easier way to form basic articulations on the flute. What I'll simply tell our dear listeners about is single tonguing. Single tonguing is where we simply use the front part of our tongue to break up the airstream, which will create separation between notes. What I'll simply say by doing this is tu. Very straightforward, isn't it, listeners? Let me just demonstrate here quickly on my own flute, shall I? So remember, we're going to say tu, 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 with a proper embouchure. Allow me. Very straightforward, isn't it, our dear listeners? And Oswald, as you can see too, it's very, very, very easy. Very, very straightforward. You don't need all of the different equations and hypotheses and whatnot. But I commend you for your efforts. I do.
It's that simple. It's that simple. All this research, all this bloody research, years of research down the drain. I've never even seen a girl.
Ah, well, what a shame. Our next guest is a man of great sophistication. I have much respect for this dear fellow. His name is Sigmund Bopstrollop, and Sigmund is here today. Oh, just say hi, Sigmund. Say hi. Charmed, incredibly charmed. It's very nice to be here. Yes. So Sigmund is here with us today to discuss tuning and a couple aspects of tuning the flute. So, take it away, Sigmund. But of course, the art of tuning the flute is something that has been passed down through many, many generations within nobles like myself. Let us begin. Our first article comes from the head joint. It is called the head joint as such because it is weared ever so nicely upon the head. You can feel the regalness just flowing through your body. Lovely, lovely. That would be the head joint. Now, for the body, the art of tuning is great for the body of the flute. Very much so. The body gets worn upon the body. So one must put the flute on one's body. Look how distinguished I am. Imagine me at the party. All the ladies would love me. Yes. So that would be the body. Next, for the foot joint. The foot joint is rather misleading because it does not get worn upon the foot. The foot joint is just ever so nicely nudged into the thigh. So it gets worn in such a way it complements your neck. Feel that complementing my neck. Look how robust I am. Isn't it wonderful? Sigmund, I don't really know what to say other than there is a much less sophisticated way of tuning your flute. When tuning on my own, what I would do is set my note to a certain note. A440 to be precise is an excellent note to play, to tune your flute. What I'm going to do is play my A on my flute, and we'll see if it's in tune. Did that sound in tune? Let's listen again. I'm not in tune. So, I ended up being a bit sharp with my flute. So what I'm going to do to make my note slightly lower is take my head joint out ever so slightly. Very, very easy thing to do. I pretty much just took it out about an inch just to make the note slightly flat. So, let's hear it again. Here's my A. And I'll hear that note. What I will do is play my A again and see if I'm in tune. Lo and behold, I am in tune. Much simpler. Then, well, if I was flat, say, I would simply push my headstock in, and my note would become more sharp. Simple, less sophisticated way of tuning one's flute. Well, that's a very middle-class way of tuning the flute. Is there any way you can do that while you play the thing? Yes, actually, Sigmund, there are ways you can tune your flute while you play. Simply what I would do is, while playing, just slightly twist the flute in towards my lip. This will change the pitch, dear viewers. Just pay attention and open up those ears. What happened to the pitch? It went down ever so slightly. This is a very simple way to tune one's flute while playing. Isn't that great? Well, that's our show for tonight, folks. It's certainly been a strange but interesting evening. So may all of you have a flute-filled evening. Good night.
To all of you kids out there, never say no to a piccolo. And always keep your flute on hand. Captain Flute, away.